right now, you guys, we can do training on a level that we've never been able to do before with AI.
Fake knowledge, because that's AI. It's not new information. It's language models, words that are out there that are recombined in a different way than the original author of them.
Things have changed considerably, and you can even test this out yourself. Like, go right now. I fixed my own toilet by using ChatGPT.
And there's another question for companies that don't offer any type of like AI type training, and their employees like go on ChatGPT because there's nothing else.
My continual saying that Terminator was a documentary continues to come true. That's it.
The human element is still going to be there that is using AI, that they didn't tell them to turn the breaker off and they got shocked across the room.
AI can't force someone to follow the instructions. Who here has ever, replaced a electrical circuit breaker and was just instead of going down to the circuit panel and figuring out which breaker, all we did was be really, really careful about how we bent that black wire.
So a task that used to take you, at the regional level, when you have 15, 20, 25 properties, a task that would take you an entire day to go property by property and checking your work order completion, make ready completion, now takes you 10 minutes.
How many of us have used channel locks to be a hammer? Does it work as a hammer? Is that what it was designed for? No.
New faces today, so there's no one to introduce to the group, but I'm gonna get right into it. Technology, what do we expect from technology? What do we see from technology? I'm at a conference in Arizona right now, and it's a big conversation. This AI and technology, it's like a huge part of the conversation. I figure that it'll be incredibly relevant to bring folks that are building technology for the industry to weigh in on what's going on and just kind of tell us what they're building, what they're seeing, what are some challenges and opportunities out there in an area in multifamily. So speaking of technology, right, it's wonderful when it works, isn't it?
But Adrian, it always works. Technology is just flip a switch and it always works exactly as designed every time.
That was just a setup. I was just waiting for somebody to say something.
Well, it's just like our workforce, right? The tech is tech, right? Tech works or tech doesn't, whether it's a mop tech or prop tech.
Yeah. Take it away, gentlemen. I'm gonna let you take it away while I'm still working on this. I'm not gonna, make you wait. I'm trying to get somebody else here on a call with us. So, Tim, why don't you kick it off, sir? Tell us a little bit about technology. How does that play for you, your company, and let's just talk about recruiting first, right? I think we got the other problem solved too, which is great. So yeah, let's start with you.
Well, technology has advanced our industry and our section of the industry monumentally in the last 3 years. It's also exposed us to the good, the bad, and the ugly of our section of the industry, from recruiting, our lapses in recruiting, our lapses in execution, but also our successes. And one of the things that, over the last several weeks, I've been gathering information for successes, right? In maintenance, we're always criticized because we're not getting it done fast enough. We're not getting it done cheap enough. But we need to start capitalizing on the successes and celebrating the wins. Okay. And one of my wins was a week ago, about 10 days ago, I hosted a training session for just my maintenance techs. No maintenance supervisors, just maintenance techs. And I was pleasantly surprised at the group of people that I met with and the abilities that they showed, the questions that they asked, the engagement that they had overall was inspiring. It brought me back to the days of when people really cared about their jobs and understood the combination of tech and actual physical work. we worked through the tech that we have. We worked through the dashboards and data that I looked at, but then we also did some hands-on training, and I was so inspired by how they were asking questions about the tech stuff and the hands-on training stuff about how they can both be combined to make their jobs more efficient. And ironically enough, there was not one question of, is this going to make me more money? It was, how is this going to make my job more efficient, and how can I get more done? And so that's where, inspiration now is, how do I capitalize that in my market within what I need to do and meld both of them? So, over the last 10 days, I started, deep diving into some of the training stuff that we've been talking about over the last year about, okay, I'm going to invest in tech, but I'm also going to invest in the physical tech, right? So that we can accomplish both goals by training and, training the tech that we need to use and the data that I'm provided based off the information that they give me, but also, where's the gap? Where is their talent gap? I'm quoted many, many times. Everybody tells me they can change the light bulb until I ask them to change the light bulb. And then, well, that's a European light bulb. I don't know how to change the European light bulbs. So now it's about mending all of that together and having them understand the tech that we provide right now today, okay, is going to be different than the tech that I provide in 6 months, because the tech that we offer is evolving faster than the workforce. So how do we bridge that gap? And it all comes down to training. And I've committed to my team, from the C-suite down to the porter, of investing in them with both tech and hands-on, because then the data that I'm getting from all my tech needs to match the execution from the physical labor force.
This is a great way to kick off our meeting right here. So thank you for doing that, Tim. I want to turn it over to Zlatko and Guillermo. Whenever you're in a position that you could turn the camera on, just do turn the camera on, because I want to bring you in as well, right? So Zlatko's been building technology for, am I saying this, for like close to 2 decades, and then in multifamily for well over 1 decade, right? So I want to get your take on, like, how do we keep up, as Tim was saying, like, besides just like training, how do you envision this training, right? Because how do we build something that we're able to have our employees being successful and stay up to date on technology that changes daily, basically?
Thanks for the intro, Adrian, and it's a really good question. And Tim, I really appreciate what you're saying, because there's new technology coming all the time. And if you guys are noticing, the technology curve is actually speeding up right now. We're starting to see more and more technology coming out every year.
Yeah.
While the technology life cycle, when I first started about 25 years ago, was maybe about a decade, right now we're starting to see new technology come out like almost on a yearly basis. And it's always better and it's newer. So with that, you have fatigue oftentimes that's associated with that, because people are like, man, it's one more thing for me to learn, and it's one more thing for me to do. And oftentimes the technology that we introduce kind of doesn't answer the question on what's in it for me. It appears one more thing I have to do. I've been, doing a hard physical job, and now I have to spend so much extra time into some app or on a laptop documenting everything or doing more work. So the technology itself adds administrative overhead. So that's one aspect of that. And second is that, how do we get training to more people that are entering the workforce, and how do we get them up to speed faster? Now, when it comes to technology, that's what I'm interested in. One thing that's changed with the technology today, that it's much better because it's based on AI, and the AI that we have today is based on language. So therefore, it allows you to solve some of those problems that we've had with technology before. So one, the technology adoption is a lot easier today because there isn't as much training needed because you're not teaching people to use something very complex because they may be able to handle something by just reading or talking to an app, for example, and getting something done, which made things a lot easier. Also, the new technology doesn't change workflows as much as old technology because it allows people to use the devices that they already have. Like you can do a lot with a cell phone. You can do a lot via SMS messages. So the training curve, in my mind, is actually decreasing with new AI technology because the interfaces are getting much simpler. You're talking about a chatbot versus sometimes like software, you may need to learn like a product that may have 5 menus and 10 submenus and different screens and different workflows that take some time to learn. So that's one aspect that I see improving. And the second one, when it comes to training, right now, you guys, we can do training on a level that we've never been able to do before with AI because it goes beyond training. Training sometimes is something that's kind of passive and done occasionally. So right now, like somebody gets a job and they go take some series of quizzes, and then we're like, yay, you passed your training, you're done, and we're gonna do more training next year or right before we do your yearly review. And that's what that amounts of. And that training's gotten a little bit better. It used to be drier with just text, and then some training was added that had videos, and but it's still training that's pretty passive. So now we're moving into what I think is a lot more effective, which is coaching. So that means now you have a companion that's with you all the time. So therefore, you don't just rely on training one time, but you have information that's available to you at your fingertips anytime you do a job. And that information can be dynamic and automatically supplied to you immediately when you do a job. So just to give you an example, imagine you getting a work order, and as soon as you get the work order, the top three potential solutions are already listed, and those solutions are based on your own prior work orders or institutional knowledge about the property that you're maintaining. So we're seeing huge advances right now, and I think we're just getting started. We're just scratching the surface, and I think maintenance is going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries of some of these new technologies.
Mr. Paul Rhodes, I could see you out there, and I'm not sure how to read on you, but I would love for you to weigh in, right? Because you've been, one of the most prominent figures in training in multifamily for decades right now, and obviously that combined with what just Zlatko describes brings things to a totally different level. So I want to know your take as an educator, as a trainer, on everything that was just said so far during this conversation. It's very important that we hear your take here.
I'm a big fan, Zlatko, the optimism. I love the fact that yes, there is technology that is available. I live on this thing as much as I want to beat the ever living tar out of this thing. I live on it. And you can't take away the fact that, yes, there is a lot of modern innovation that has gone into the ability for our technicians to have access to information and for our properties. But the myriad of thoughts that you started out when you were talking about that we're dealing with a lot of AI, or as I've gotten in the habit of talking about now, fake knowledge, because that's AI. It's not new information. It's language models, words that are out there that are recombined in a different way than the original author of them. In other words, the information that our technicians are going to access on this wonderful, innovative design has to be accurate to begin with. So in a perfect world, or in a utopian society, my technician gets a work order, or I get a work order that says toilet in apartment 321 is clogged. So I have to have, as an owner, I have to have a technician that goes to that apartment, into the toilet, gets there, it's clogged. Then, in a perfect world, we have a technician who maybe is encountering whatever it is that their toilet is clogged and overflowing. They take out their phone, they ask, how do I unclog this toilet? The AI will need to know what kind of toilet is it? Is it a downflow? Is it a backflow? Is it out the side? Is it a Mansfield? Is it a flapper? Does it have a fluid master? Does it have all of that information? So, in other words, in order for our technology to train my employee in the moment, all of that information has to be entered in up front. That has to be a known quantity beforehand. We get into that in the moment training. Add that to the fact that we will be requiring our technicians to have enough experience or somebody that can mentor them along to even identify, in my overly simplistic explanation here, of a fill valve, a toilet, the floor, the supply, the flapper, the ball cock, whether it's a Mansfield, a Toto, all of these variables that go into play. And yet, every bit of the information that we're saying the technology is the solution for training that we're talking about has to exist currently. First, it doesn't exist currently. Our technicians, when they go and do a work order, they're not capturing what was done on or capturing the actual equipment they did it on. For a work order to solve, gentlemen, what is the number one most used word to describe what happened to complete a work order?
Complete.
Done.
Done.
Yeah. Can an AI use that to tell me that done meant I pulled the top off the fluid master, turn off the water, pull the top off the fluid master, replace the seal, put a new seal in, whether it's a red seal or a black seal, what those differences are, put the new top on the fluid master, put it back together, do it, turn the water back on, flush it twice to test it? You can't get all that information out of done. I appreciate, yes, technology is there. I'm all for it. I think it's a tool, but it's not the solution. And we are not guiding our current technicians up into being that solution. I think kind of the beginning is, what problem are we looking to solve? The second piece of that is, does whatever technology we're throwing against that problem actually solve that problem? And then third, are the people that we're looking to implement this solution, do they understand not only what the problem was, but why we're going to solve it?
Um, and Paul, I will give you that concession. Like the basic knowledge definitely helps. Like I can't take someone, that used to work in a library and put him in a situation to where they're supposed to fix, like the broken toilet that you referenced. But where I will say that things have changed considerably, and you can even test this out yourself. Like the AI will absolutely know what type of a toilet it is and how it works and what the parts are and how it's repaired and how to test it and how to do it step by step. Like it will do it in a detail like you won't believe it. And you can test it out. Like go right now. I fixed my own toilet by using ChatGPT. I'm not an expert. And I went there, took a picture of the problem. It immediately told me what part is most likely, how to troubleshoot it. And then he gave me a part number at Home Depot for me to go. And he gave me the link directly to where I can go order it. And it'll be ready for me when I get there. To where right now, in a lot of applications, and this is, I'm talking about an AI that's like right out of the box, like one that it has not been trained. Now, the way we actually envision this is you already have an AI, and the AIs, by the way, right now are so much better than the ones like it's true. 2 years ago, they were just mincing words, and a lot of times they would hallucinate and things like that. But now we've stepped up to what are called the reasoning models. So they actually have a layer baked into the model themselves that removes a lot of the hallucinations. They're not 100%. I'm not gonna say that because I see this all the time. But they're getting so much better as actually doing step-by-step solutions and guiding someone while performing a step-by-step solution. And also, this a lot of times can start before the technician even shows up. So for example, one thing that we already have right now, it's a AI maintenance triage product. So therefore, let's say a resident has an issue with the toilet, like you mentioned. When they submit the issue, the AI can ask them, is this overflowing? If it is, it can suggest, go look for what's usually a red valve behind the toilet and turn that to the right till the leak. So you prevent something immediately. Second, he can take that recording or a picture of the toilet of what's happening and also include that in the work order. And based on that, it can suggest some rudimentary, fixes for that. Now, what I mean by this, if you couple this now with the knowledge of somebody on that property that knows specifically what types of toilets we use, what types of lighting fixtures we use, what types of AC filters we use, all of this stuff. Like if you take that knowledge that you would take and you would teach someone how to do it, and if you train the AI and coupled with the general knowledge that the AI has, you end up with something that's actually pretty powerful, and it's just getting started. I think that these things are gonna get more and more specialized because they train themselves. So what happens if you have an AI, let's say that you operate on a particular building, during the first year when it has very little training, it will not offer as much help. But if you feed it all of the previous work orders, and then during the time as you're fixing it, if you do a little bit of training, which means like document the fix, it will understand done, and you can train it on what done means. And with agentic AI in particular, you can train behaviors to where it can ask, what does done mean? And can you verify that it's done to make sure that it meets the definition of done set by let's say a manager or someone that's an experienced person or a supervisor, whoever you decide that leads this effort. You will be shocked actually how good this AI is going to get after 6 months or a year. And then I want to be also clear on this part too. We're not talking about replacing human training and all of that. There is no replacement for that. Like I honestly, and I've been an educator myself, and I know what we're talking about. It is very difficult to have a human training person or supervisor trailing someone all the time. You're going to end up having, as the industry grows and we're struggling to get techs, people with less experience. Any help that you can give them when you're not around is welcome. And I believe this is going to provide that incremental help. I don't see AI. I am not like that much of an optimist to say that, oh, as soon as you do this, go ahead and fire your supervisors, managers, and we're going to operate on a skeleton crew. So I want to be clear that's not what I'm saying. But like, I want to also tell you, this is moving so quickly with the AI that a lot of you guys, you can test it. Just take an application like ChatGPT or Gemini and take a picture of something at home, and take a picture of your car, take a picture under the hood, anything mechanical. You choose. And you would be shocked actually how accurate these things are and how good they've gotten over the last 12 to 18 months. And they're just like they just released a new group of models within the last month by Google and Anthropic. And we've made another leap forward now in terms of like reasoning and step-by-step thinking. And this is with built-in training from all the videos on the internet, from anything on Reddit, from anything that's publicly available, from scouring all these websites, ingesting all their PDF manuals, so much information is fed into these large language models that's basically anything that's available on the internet is vacuumed in, and it comprises the training data that they're trained on.
Boy, that's scary. If it
It
if it
is.
bleeds, it leads. That means you get more clicks off negative and incorrect information. And then if that's what's getting pulled in, man, my continual
There's
saying that Terminator was a documentary continues to come true. That's it. Craig, man, I'll pass it to you, Craig. You got your hand up. Go for it. You know more about this than I do anyway.
Paul, you're just old. That's all. No, you're not. Um, I've seen the AI work. I like the AI. I'm in the industry for AI, but I think, and several have already said, right? The first thing is base knowledge can never be bypassed. You're not taking a leasing consultant and saying, take this work order and go take care of it. By the way, that the AI is going to tell you how to fix it when you get there. Um, the the other piece that you need to be cautious about, I think, with AI, because I've seen some of the pieces that come up. And somebody put Tyus put a piece in there into the chat, right? Reading AI while you're in an apartment with a resident on how to plunge a toilet is not instilling the most confidence in that resident that you actually knew what you were doing. Worse, reading AI or asking AI questions while you're trying to fix their air conditioner and you get your fingers stuck in a 240-volt circuit, it does not also instill very much confidence and may result in you falling on the floor. And the part you have to be, I think that we have to figure out as an industry. I mean, AI is coming. It's not going anywhere. I think I read an article several weeks ago where, like, one of the fathers of AI who said in 30 years computers would be smarter than humans, like, put another article out and said, forget the 30 years, it's going to be less than 5. And it's just we're going to get overrun by computers as far as the knowledge that they're trying to give us. The issue to me is about liability. Liability for my organization that created a product that might give you AI, that you get injured and then you hold me responsible, or AI that was given to me as a technician where I get injured and I try and hold my company responsible for an injury because I did what the AI told me to do, and it missed one little step. I mean, just one little, turn the breaker off. Oh, it forgot that disconnect power part. Because I didn't ask it, how can I do this safely? I said, what do I need to replace in order to make this air conditioner turn back on? And it says, well, you need to replace the contactor. Remove the contactor and put the new contactor in place. Now, granted, it's going to be way more detailed than that, but will 99% of the models catch, oh, by the way, first disconnect power, but will 1% of the models miss it and cause a problem? So the AI is really great until you get society, the group of upcoming people today that are relying so heavily on it that there's a tremendous lack of critical thinking involved in what they're doing. I just looked at the list, did what it said: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I think that's, while we have to figure out how to use it to our advantage, we also have to be very careful to not, well, for lack of a better term, not to trust it. Or Paul, your Terminator documentary comes to life. And so I think I think it's an important part we're going to be seeing, we're going to be using. I mean, I'm got two other screens open, right? I'm researching AI on the other side of the screens. By the way, Zlatko, if you give me your email address, I'll send in a LinkedIn invite out. But anyway, but it's a double-edged sword, as it always has been. And I still lean back towards, I really still love the interactive learning. And I know hands-on you can't replace, but you can get a lot of information from interactive learning that and from virtual reality learning that is more more tactile for, as Paul would say, more tactile and learning because you can see what things are. And I'm sure that AI is going to catch up and be there. And when it asks you, like, it's going to give you the pictures step by step. It's going to show you what the piece looks like. The question is, where do we and how do we find the ability to reduce risk to the supplier of the software and the organization that bought it when it comes down to the technician using it? Because we always have to remember the lowest common denominator. I hate to say it like that, but we have to remember the lowest common denominator in the chain of who's using it and what they're supposed to be doing and how they're supposed to be doing it.
I think they're all great points to be taken, and we gotta think about that, very deep and hard. At the same thing, I at the same time, I want for us to kind of like consider that throughout history, there were probably like, training courses that did not, have that warning, right, sir, saying before you replace a contactor, turn the power off. I think that happened in like history. I don't have I don't have proof, but I'm pretty sure it did happen someplace, sometime, right? And it's incredibly unfortunate when something like that happens. But would that mean that, we're not going to move forward with this? This is not going to like move forward? I don't think it does. And I wanted to take like an example that's like out of our conversation right now. Uber, they could have like, gone to like local municipalities and submit like, requests, hey, allow us to compete with taxi. This would have never happened. Instead, they just created the technology, they put it out there, and here they are. They buried all the taxi companies. So just some food for thought. That's all I had to say, like on the subject. But nevertheless, all the concerns are like very valid, and something that we should really think about. It's an ethical question. And then there's another question for companies that don't offer any type of like AI type training, and their employees like go on ChatGPT because there's nothing else. There's no other place, like no other resource to go to. Like, what happened then? With that being said, there's a couple of hands up. Jonathan, you're up first, and then Tim right after you. And I want to get to Guillermo and Will eventually after the two of you.
Thanks, Adrian. We're bringing up some very interesting points, and we see quite the chat going on the sidebar here, where we're asking these questions like, okay, who's responsible if AI gives you bad information, etc. And I've been distilling this backwards for a couple of days now. We just had a conversation yesterday with one of our contractors, Chubb Edwards, and we're looking at fire prevention stuff. And we had this very same conversation, and we kind of boiled it down to insurance is going to be the primary driver of AI in multifamily for a couple of reasons. Accountability, not least of which, as we see lots of fraudulent claims and things like that. All the AI that's going to be used on their end is going to push for a lot more accountability, a lot more immutable evidence, paper trails, if you will, digital or otherwise. Eventually, it's all going to push us to a point where, like your idea, having all the maintenance guys with a GoPro strapped to their head, in combination with something like what Guillermo had showed me with his software, Iris CX, you're going to get to a point where you won't even be able to get insurance for your building unless you're using one of these programs that is providing, proof that, hey, your guy is trained, he knows what he's doing, that all the steps were followed properly. And eventually that's where we're going to end up. Everybody's going to have the GoPro on their head or their body cam, and they'll be wandering around just doing their job, with very little interface with the tech directly, either on their phone. That won't happen so much in the unit or in the suites. They'll just be walking around doing their job and making sure everything looks good for insurance. And Yeah, I feel that we're not very far away from that when you consider how expensive insurance is getting, right? You're looking at huge NOI increases by being the one multi-family home provider that can provide immutable evidence that all their fire prevention strategies have been fully implemented, that all their inspections are being done. Um, Contractors in that field will have the benefit of being the preferred contractor because they are providing those things that increase their level of accountability, and it's all going to get pushed that direction because AI can do it. It can do the lift. We won't need a bunch of human resources or auditors looking over, every file, every scrap of paper. It can all be done in an automated process via AI, making it much more achievable.
Those are all great points, Jonathan. Thank you for sharing. Tim, you also had the hand up, please, sir.
Yes, thank you. I love the context. I love all the back and forth. And one of the things that is resonating with me is, what is AI? Okay. Is AI the new version of the hammer? Okay. Because AI to me is a tool that is an amazing tool, but unless we invest in our associates and our teams, it's just another tool that sits in the toolbox. Okay. And all the AI and all the tech and all of this is amazing. But if we don't train our teams how to use it, then nothing's going to change. Paul came out to Colorado and gave a really great speech and presentation. And one of the things that he mentioned over and over and over is reading the instructions. Okay. The instruction manual. Okay. So if we don't know how AI works because we haven't read the instruction manual, what good is AI? Okay. Guillermo, you're right. AI is the power drill, opposed to the screwdriver. Okay. But if you don't use the power drill correctly, you're going to strip out the screw. So, that's where we have to train, and we have to embrace the AI, we have to embrace the tech, but we have to embrace the mistakes that come with both, right? Because there's going to be errors made. The human element is still going to be there, that is using AI, that they didn't tell them to turn the breaker off and they got shocked across the room. But that's a learning opportunity, because even in the instruction manuals, some of them don't tell you to unplug the garbage disposal before you put your hand in it. The stove doesn't tell you to turn it off to see if it's working. So the human element with AI has to be that we're training from the bottom up, not the top down.
Guillermo, you had a lot of notes, in a chat box, and I know you've been patiently waiting for your turn. The floor is yours, sir. Thoughts?
I mean, I think, yeah, no worries. This is a great conversation, everyone. I mean, ultimately, I think back to the conversations we've had today and kind of how we talk about it. I mean, some of our customers are regulated and publicly traded. And so and they choose our product because it's all recorded, because they want that burden of proof if it ever comes down to defensibility. That's this 4 years ago, we could have gone left, went right because it was the easy way to do it, or it was the way we did it that then. And everything's recorded. And that's why our customers choose us, because they have to have defensibility in a court of law. And so that is what they do. And so, I mean, put your hand up if you've ever opened up an IKEA box and you're halfway through and you realize you put the white side down, the brown side, up, and you end up having to take the whole thing apart, right? Like, that is everybody on this call here. And because we skipped the instructions. And so, AI can't force someone to follow the instructions. Who here has ever, replaced a electrical circuit breaker and just instead of going down to the circuit panel and figuring out which breaker, all we did was be really, really careful about how we bent that black wire before we put it into the thing, 100%, right? All the time. And so, AI is not gonna be able to cover that. And so, because there's still an application that needs to be done. So I think the gap is going to happen, to Jonathan's point around insurance and an application, because ultimately, just because it can do something doesn't mean it should do something. And we are going to be, I think in the maintenance world, and you've seen this in like military forever, is we're going to be in AI assisted mode for a very long time. Now that's going to help cut down on the human error. It's going to cut down on the training. It's going to help cut down on the process. But unless we still start tracking the application of what the directions are, we're going to be kind of stuck. That's kind of my take of it. And I think, and one thing, like when I talk about technology, and if you guys ever heard me pitch you or talk about it, I look at like problems that we're trying to solve, and there's like three ways to solve every problem in the world. You can hire more people, you can vend it out, or you can use technology and process. And we tend to like to do it in that order because hiring is way easier and way more fun. Vending out is great because we can, it's less fun than hiring people, but more fun than implementing technology. And the technology is kind of a pain in the ass to put in because it sucks. It's change, and humans we hate change. And so like until you've exhausted your options of one and two, you don't really look at three, right? Until you've like you're so frustrated with the hiring stack that you get in Colorado. And so you're so frustrated with the vendors that are available in Houston, then you're kind of like, why would you change? Like I often ask the question when we're in pitches, I'm like, why are you having this conversation with us today? What's because like I don't want to sell you technology if I'm trying to bring you to, put the horse to water and make a drink. You got to really be frustrated with your hiring stack in Colorado and the availability of vendors in Houston before you think about technology, because those are the best buyers. They've already tried something and it didn't work. And so, I mean, team, you've seen, I've made proposals for you. And it's like, hey, here's door number one or two. Choose those two first. I recommend that. That's easier. But those don't work. You got to go for the power drill. And so I think that we're finding ourselves in a world right now, and Adrian, you and I have had this chat a ton of times, is that there's just no more people that are good enough to do the job. They're being hired by other companies. And so, okay, so that door's kind of closed or really hard to open. Vendors is the same labor pool. So that's not really working either. And so let's make it better with technology. I just don't, I think who was I chatting with? It might have been you, Tim. Like, there was the whole like survive 2025. And then now it's like fix it in 26, right? And we're kind of out of rope. So I think it's going to be, it'll be interesting to watch, see how this is all deployed.
We have
And
a
liability insurance is going to be a huge thing, a huge determinant.
Yeah, you guys, you nailed it. Like the insurance piece, and you guys get this. Like those are some of the dangers, and the situation is complex too, because a lot of people are trying to figure out. And as I'm talking to a lot of people, the insurance comes up all the time. And but what's happening, I think, with time, like the liability policies will somehow have to include this as a line item. Will the cost go up? I can almost guarantee you that because I mean I don't
Well,
insurance
actually,
is not.
Slavko, I'd be curious. I just renewed our cyber policies here, just like a week ago. So they have a new rider, and given that you're in tech too, I'd be curious to see what your cyber policy looks like. I've got a new rider in my policy about AI guidance, and so we actually had to
Yeah,
pay a higher
our
premium.
cyber policy is pretty complex because
Yeah,
basically it's all about AI and providing AI
yeah.
services.
So
So
we're
for us,
already
actually,
paying.
we think about that all the time too, how
Yeah.
to make sure we don't lose our cyber policy, but they're always playing catch up. Like, we were kind of doing what we're doing, and a lot of those things were not mentioned. Like, it was a pretty much a straight up software cyber policy. And then after a
Hmm.
while, they started like, we've had always AI in the description, but they didn't really pay attention to that as much. So they're catching
Yeah.
up. So I'm pretty sure a lot of these liability policies will catch up as well, but they will increase the cost.
Yeah.
The problem though
It
that
wasn't
I'm
free.
seeing with AI is like you guys said, how do you actually do it in a stair-step fashion to where you make it comfortable? So that's one thing. And with the AI, when I talk about AI, you guys, great questions like what does AI really mean? In our case, AI means agentic AI, which is you're using the AI to train agents. So you get to tell the agent how to behave, the AI agent. So the AI agent has this smart brain behind it, but you can tell it, I want you to do this, but not do this. So for example, you can tell it at first, anything that has to do with electricity, all I want you to do is display a warning, but not display any step-by-step instructions. Anything that has to do with certain types of jobs or work orders, you can actually limit how it works, and then with time, maybe kind of test and add a little bit more as you you become more comfortable. So that becomes now is about how we train these AI agents, because now that's the big capability. They're pretty smart and pretty trainable, and they're trainable in English too, which is pretty cool. And what happens with the AI at first, they were not as good at following these instructions, but they're getting better and better and more trainable. So we build like different types of agents. We have like probably over 60 in our platform that do different types of things in multifamily, and some of them related to maintenance. And we can tell them. So for example, we have some clients that don't like the triage piece because of the liability. And they're like, you know what? If you think that this triage involves water, I just want you to send it to me as a high priority one, but don't try to triage it in case something, is done wrong and somebody actually ends up flooding even more or doing something that's even more. So you can actually set the AI to behave in certain ways to where you can not interact, not offer help, or offer help, and then you can kind of fine tune that over time. But there's another thing that I want to talk to you about too, that I'm seeing from people that I'm talking to. Like if they use, like, let's say the AI that's supplied by us and vetted by you and trained by you, you have some control over how it behaves. But people are reporting to me that their techs are using like straight up Chat GPT and Gemini on their own phones, that they are one step ahead of us. These are all like a lot, especially the younger guys in their 20s, they're not waiting for you to bring AI. They are over there snapping photos. They are troubleshooting based on unapproved AI. You have no idea which model. You have no idea what they're doing. So that's why sometimes to me, it's like us stopping AI. I honestly don't think that ship has sailed. Like, but now it's more about like, let's give them tools that are at least approved and they're there with some safety built in, and that do comply with your liability policies, and that do actually are trained by you to your level of comfort, or based on the type of a building, asset class, whatever you want to take into consideration, versus them like using straight up unapproved like DeepSeek Chinese AI potentially that has zero safety training and can get them in a lot of trouble.
Gentlemen, I had to say that this by far was the most exciting and engaging conversation we had, and I'm loving it. That's the whole point here, right? Bring both sides to the table, all sides, I should say, to the table. Let's have a great conversation. I wanted to do a little bit of a internal, management. There's 3 hands up currently. Paul was the first one to raise hand. So Paul, I want to give you the floor. Then I want to have Will. Will is also with another company that builds technology in a space, in a maintenance space. So I want to give him the floor after that. And then we're going to have Tyus and Juan having the floor after that. So Mr. Rhodes, please.
Just real quick to kind of do one, all of these technology, to use that analogy that Tim brought up of this is a tool. The tool, first of all, the question is, what problem are we solving? Is it liability that has come up a lot of times? If it's liability and all we're looking for is a new checklist that auto-generates its own check boxes for a human to go and check through, then okay, that's the problem we're trying to solve. And in that limited scope, AI does a great job. But just like every single tool, Tim, you use the hammer. How many of us have used channel locks to be a hammer? Does it work as a hammer? Is that what it was designed for? No. How much damage around the nail that you're trying to put in do you do by making the hammer, or by using channel locks as a hammer?
Oh, I wasn't hitting a nail.
Oh, a screw. Okay, yeah. Well, use channel locks as a screwdriver. They, grab the side of it. And why did we use the tool for something other than what it was designed for? And this goes a little bit, I think it was Garrett or Jonathan, you were putting in the chat, of we used to have to decide what's right and what's easy. Every single tool that we have that decision to use. Our technicians go into an apartment every day. Is this right or is this easy? I can fix this now with the channel lock I've got, or I can run down to my truck and grab my hammer and come back up and do the hammer. So The first question is the tool, AI in this case, the right one for the problem that we're solving? The second is, do our technicians, the humans, know how to apply that tool correctly? You know, a power drill is, in fact, a better screwdriver unless you begin getting one of those high torque drills that grabs a hold of whatever it is it's going into, and you end up injuring yourself or damaging somebody else. So all of those things, that analogy of using AI as a tool is a real one. And at the same time, is that the right thing for what we're doing? And lastly, does the human, the technician, know, are they able to keep up with our liability concerns of ChatGPT on my phone? Or is this the approved version of ChatGPT or AI or Claude or Tron or whatever other name that these things have, that in the end, I just need my technician to know how to operate a plunger. I want them to not be standing in front of a resident of which plunger do I use or all of that. So there is that perception that, you know, we have services hitting us today that we're saying we're going to put this in place. The resident calls in a work order and the AI gives the resident the option to fix it themselves. And at what point does that replace the need for a maintenance technician? Again, what problem are we solving? What issue are we looking to get rid of?
Will, would you like to weigh in?
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because it's such a good conversation. Fascinating to hear everyone's thoughts on this. We started a tech business a decade ago, really on the make-ready side, because there wasn't much software and technology for maintenance. That was the original vision, is like there's all this great technology for the front office, but maintenance is doing the hard work. And so where are the tools and the software for maintenance teams? And we are less so on the work order AI, how are we supporting techs with AI, and more so on the how do we solve the administrative work of managing their make ready? So how do we automate and integrate the scheduling? How do we connect your vendors through an app so that you're not having to make 100 calls a year to get painters out, cleaners out, reschedule work? And so we're more of a back-end technology and AI company. And I think like the conversation is super interesting to me. It's all about what is the problem to solve. And this feels like the early age of AI is going to be hype until we figure out what it actually is solving and how we actually have the right implementation. And for us in our business, it's been about automating workflows. So all the communication to vendors that your techs would have had to do or your supervisors would have had to do through text messages or phone calls, we're doing that through technology. How do you keep a make ready up to date? We're doing all of that through technology of vendors being on the application. So to us, it's all about how do you remove administrative work so on-site teams have more time, not how do you create more problems with technology. So I think we introduce a lot of software and a lot of tech in this industry that creates more work, and we're trying to find ways that reduces work. But fascinating conversation. I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thank you, Will. Tyus, you're up next, sir. What's on your mind? Okay, we'll come back to you. Juan.
Here you go. No, I got it now.
Oh, you got it?
Yep.
AI.
So pretty much. No, I just had first of all, great discussion this time. Loving it. Somebody said we are out of people good enough to do the job. The problem with that is just because we lost the ability and time, the affordability of time to train our, proteges, the allowance of the mess ups, because it costs money. We get that, but how else? Most of us in this industry are hands-on learners, meaning we're gonna have to mess it up a couple times before we learn and have it down pat, and we can do it snap of a hat, no problem. But you have to afford us that. And a great, for instance, with my tech, we had a spa down. We had winter storms coming. Spa down. We had to get it up and running before then, but he didn't want to listen to me. he thought he knew better. So I had to give him that space to mess it up. Whole thing's still leaking. I fixed it after the fact, but now he's willing and learning because he was afforded that ability to mess it up. Same with the AI stuff. It's not going to be perfect. It never will be. But it'll get better with each mess up. And that's where letting people have that individualistic, unapproved AIs, that is what's going to separate and start to it'll all integrate itself eventually. Doesn't matter what the platform is. They'll all kind of start talking about, AI itself will start talking amongst itself, just because why wouldn't it? How can't it? So just being prepared for that is just, it'll happen. We don't know how or when, but we'll just all of a sudden there's a blank bridge between these two completely different models of AI, but now there is one because of these unapproved methods that are going to keep being used, because that's the only way now that new people coming into the industry are getting to have this, uniqueness. Like every tech I've known specializes in a couple little things. This is how they're specializing in it now.
Tyus, thank you so much for waiting in. A lot to process, a lot to think about right here. And I should say a lot to think about just from the entire conversation. Very valid points. And I'll say, on both sides, if we were to, just consider sides, I just don't think that, really, ultimately, we're looking at sides. It's just different angles. And I love that, we're here at the table talking it through, man, because there's nowhere else this conversations happen. That's why I want for all of you to, I think, to just come together, to come back to these meetings as often as you can, because we're driving conversations in this industry. This type of environment, it's the environment that doesn't exist anywhere else. Well, I'll say microbe might exist, right, on various podcasts, Paul being, one of them out there, bringing up issues, and, there are many others that are to be noted. But I'm saying in a roundtable type of format with 5, 7, 10, 15 people at a time, having the folks that are building technology at scale. I'm not aware of anything similar being done. So I'm grateful for you all, just being here, because that's how we move things forward, just by talking it through first. Juan, you have the floor, sir.
Awesome. Appreciate it. First off, man, I've been in a pretty big hiatus. A lot of Adrian, we got to catch up. There's a lot of really cool, innovative stuff coming around the corner.
Let's catch up soon. Yes.
Yeah. And actually within the AI world, I think Paul, Tyus, you guys hit really important points, right? It's, how do we scale AI as a tool? At one point, what I've noticed is I work for a very tech-heavy company, and as AI has gotten, started being used, I've noticed that people are actually talking past each other, right? Because all they're doing is oh, I got something, Copilot, reply to it, and so at that point it's it's not it's not regulated. There really isn't any substance to it. So I think it's really what problem we're trying to solve with AI, right? And I think the programs that really scare me are the AI assisted maintenance programs, right? Because you're essentially letting a model or an AI bot give somebody that maintenance guidance. At the same time, we're working with Leo and rolling out Connect 247. That is a triage AI model that we're building guardrails for it to be able to triage and standardize our on-call protocols. But with that, the way we were using AI and the way I think the maintenance world needs to use AI is the biggest issues is workforce, right? We don't have enough time. We don't have enough people that are trained. We need to start putting all of our redundant tasks, all of our report gathering, all of our data analytics, all of the work order completion times, make ready times, and maybe you guys have talked about this prior to me joining. I joined about 30 minutes late, but that's where we need to focus on, is getting those redundant tasks out of the way, so that it allows us to be able to train techs like Tyus, like Tyus Tech, or being able to build up our workforce. And so a task that used to take you, at the regional level, when you have 15, 20, 25 properties, a task that would take you an entire day to go property by property and checking your work order completion, your make ready completion, now takes you 10 minutes because you have the data in front of you. And it's one data repository where you're actually able to see what communities need your help and what communities really just need hey, good job, you're doing a great job email. And so that's where I think that's the initial problem that we need to solve in the maintenance world, is how to fix the redundant work to be able to align with the lack of workforce. And then the second one really is the training portion. Actually kind of letting the card loose, but we're actually creating a apprenticeship program here with our company for maintenance techs, where they're coming in with no experience as an apprentice tech, and they're going to be earning a merit increase every 6 months and so on and so forth, using training platforms and so on and so forth. And that is, we're using AI to help us with that as well. So I think AI is here for the long run. I think you just got to embrace it. And we really have to, like Paul said, we really have to figure out what we're trying to solve. Because if we try to solve for everything right now, we're not going to solve crap.
Thank you, Juan. Again, just like more things to think about. Very much appreciated. But hey, it wouldn't be interesting otherwise. Because we're up on time, and I hate to always say we're up on time, right? And we're up on time. But thank you all very much for returning. Incredible conversation. Kudos to you all. I'm sorry we couldn't get to everyone around the virtual table to have them say something. A couple of folks were missed this time around. I promise that we already have a topic set for 2 weeks from now, but I promise that 4 weeks from now I want to bring this conversation over, because as always, all we did was to just kind of like scratch the surface a little bit, scratch the itch, right? So I want for us to go deeper into that rabbit hole, because I think that there's a lot out there that could be brought to surface, and a lot of educational exercises for us all. So thank you all. Have an amazing afternoon. Hopefully see you in 2 weeks, but if not, for continuing this conversation like 4 weeks from now, I'd love for us to get back and just continue this particular topic, because it's just so much more to cover. Take care.
Take care, guys.